Hello everyone watching, I welcome you today. We are here to discuss about the key weapon that we can use, if properly handled, to be the fuel to the growth and transformation of our continent. It is not about natural resources. It is not about that we're going to have a very strong military, but our population. Yes, our population. I might sound crazy to you, but please, have a seat. Listen till the very end, and let me know your opinion in the comment section. Our population, according to Worldometer, currently stands at 1.43 billion people, and it is projected by some reports to reach 2.5 billion people by 2050. And 4.3 billion people by 2100. And when I talk about this population, I am not only talking about the population, but the youthful population. Our continent today is the youngest continent on the planet. In fact, according to World Economic Forum report, 60% of our population is under the age of 25, and it is projected that by 2030, our youthful population shall constitute 42% of the global youth population. Now, why is this so important? Negative demographics in the developed world. China today is the most populated country on planet Earth. Its population stands at around 1.45 billion people according to Worldometer. Remember, Africa is 1.43 billion people. But by 2050, where Africa is projected to reach 2.5 billion, China is projected to drop to 1.3 billion people and to 800 million people by 2100. That's China for you. In Japan, they are also aging, and their birth rates compared to death rates are so alarming. In fact, in 2019, Japan recorded 865,000 births as compared to 1.38 million deaths. That's an excess of more than half a million people. 40% of European Union countries record deaths or number of deaths that far exceeds the number of births every single year. That means that their populations are declining every single year. In the United States of America, their curve had flattened for several years, but it is starting to happen that they record number of deaths in excess of number of births. It is so alarming that in Italy they've made a movie relating to the declining population. And in that movie, they show that they expect the last baby as soon as 2050. And what is so shocking here is that this already worse situation is going to be exacerbated by LGBTQ. I mean, men to men and women to women. So there is little hope for more babies in those countries. What are the implications of this? A flashback a bit. Since the 2008 financial crisis, the central banks of these major or developed countries have engaged in 25 trillion US dollars of quantitative easing. For you who is viewing, quantitative easing in simple terms means printing of money, and 9 trillion of that came during the COVID-19 pandemic era. In 2016 in Europe, when Mario Draghi was the president of the European Central Bank, he reached a period pumping 80 billion euros in the Eurozone economy. And mind you, this was per month. Despite all that huge amounts of money being pumped into the economies, ladies and gentlemen who are watching, these countries have registered very little success up to date. Inflation is climbing up. They've tried monetary and fiscal measures, but all registering very little success. And one of the major problems and challenges to their economies is structure, is directly related to their negative demographics, all aging populations. It is us, the youth or the millennials, who have desires for brand new cars, for brand new clothes, for brand new smartphones, for building, for investing. So where there is negative demographics, automatically there is low consumption. And low consumption discourages production. The wealth of the nations is measured using GDP, or gross domestic product, which is made up of business investment, consumption, government expenditure, and net trade or import-export. And when you critically look at each of those components, each of those specific components has consumption embedded within. So this problem that these developed worlds are experiencing is a structural problem. It is within their system, and it can't be stopped overnight or solved overnight. In fact, in China in 2016, the once seemed inexhaustible labor was getting exhausted, and they had birth control measures within their system, allowing only one child per family. But because of that, they were forced to restructure and allow families to have more than one, which is 2 children per family. But because the mindset of the people was implanted for so long with one child, this kind of restructuring also registered very little success. Is what we call the Lewis turning point in economics. When countries are still underdeveloped, the biggest percentage of their populations engage in low productive sectors of the economy. But as nations grow, these people are absorbed into the manufacturing sector. Okay? And it is that tremendous and big percentage of the population that fueled China to where it is today. They were all absorbed into the manufacturing, providing cost-effective labor, which ends into the production cost and final prices of goods and services. Okay? So China had cost-effective labor, and it used that labor to manufacture for the whole world. In fact, China became the workshop of the entire world using that labor. Okay? So here stands Africa, where our biggest percentage of the population, and most especially the youth population, is engaged or still engaged in the low productive sectors of the economy. Okay? In fact, our youth, between 10 to 12 million youth join labor market per year, according to a certain report that was made a few years back. And only 3.1 million formal jobs are created, leaving the biggest percentage in disguised unemployment. Our continent has one of the highest fertility rates in the world, averaging 8 children per woman in some countries. And we have one of the highest population growth rates, if not the highest, in the world. Our population is a great weapon that can be used to transform our continent. We have to say no to brainwash of using contraceptives and other family planning methods. All that is intended to depopulate us. We have to remain firm and stand by our cultural values. We have to stay defined by those values. We have to say no to LGBTQ no matter what. Our youthful population is like a double-edged sword. It can be used to defeat our enemy, or if not handled properly, can cause destruction to ourselves. Our youthful population is like nuclear. The choice is ours to make weapons out of this nuclear that can cause destruction of millions and millions of lives, or use this nuclear as energy to light up the world. And as I stand here today, I speak and say no to the negative side of this weapon. We are going to use this weapon to the most and highest advantage of our continent. We are going to financially empower this youthful population on our continent and turn it into the market, into the consumers of the 21st century. I am talking about a youth in foreign land in search for greener pasture. I am talking about a youth on the streets of major cities all around Africa. I am talking about a girl child in prostitution due to desperation and extreme poverty. I am talking about a youth in the slums of Kibera and Mathare in Kenya, Ajegunle and Shomolu in Nigeria, Kairicha and Alexandra in South Africa, Kazengal in Angola, and Agbogboshil in Ghana. You are the hope of Africa. You are the hope of the entire planet. With the right financial resources and empowerment, we expect more babies from you that are going to be the consumers of our century. Thank you very much.